Okay, well, I'm just going to give you a quick run through of your equipment here. I've already emailed you the diagrams, and I'm going to upload these to YouTube later today. So here's your fill station. It is a 4-bottle unit. Each fill tube, and I'll open up the door in a second, I'm just draining the thing so we can start from the beginning here, has a 22/16 and a 45 fill connection, a whip for each, control valve, etc. I'll explain these when we go through the fill process, how these are going to work, the valves, but it's also detailed in the manual as well. Fill gauge, regulator, you dial up your pressure, your supply pressure, shut-off valve, and your pneumatic door control. We just set it up with one cylinder being each bank for your sequence panel here. And we changed the labels so it's fairly easy for you to set up. So number 1 will be 1 bottle, number 2 will be 2 bottles, and number 3 will be 3 bottles. So you have your bank figured out that way easy. I'll just go around real quick to the back. Disregard all the hose chaos, it's just we're setting it up for testing. This pile of spaghetti here is your sequencing array. That's what's going to control not only the recharging of storage in a certain order, but also the supply to your SCBAs when you refill in a certain order. So again, I'll go through all that once we get the air charged up to it and get it running, and I'll do that display so you can see that. So just real quick, I'll go back. So here's your hookup. The back of each gauge is where you're going to connect for your 3 banks. As we spoke about on the phone, they are tube connections. We've just got them converted to a hose because it's easier for us. And the one right here in the middle is your compressor hookup, where you'll hook up the compressor feed line. We'll have them all nicely tagged for you, so it'll be very easy for you to make the connections. Just all the plumbing in the back here. So we've got it set up with a compressor on the right, which it could go either way. It's a longer run for your line, but it doesn't really matter. As long as you have access to your purification here for doing your changes, as well as the electrical panel on this side for your power in. So your power in is going to go into those 3 terminal strips there. If you've got an electrician, you'll have no trouble. There's a hole drilled in the side of the panel here for him to put his wires through, and then he can just put them up into the terminals there. It is 3-phase. Make sure he gets the rotation correct. It's a little awkward to see, especially I don't have a light on this camera. Sorry, the door off here. But he'll be able to see the rotation of the fan blades. So looking with the door off, you want the rotation, I'll put a rotation sticker on it as well, to be going clockwise. So we want a clockwise rotation once his polarity is figured out. If it is wrong, the machines will run, it will compress, but it will not cool and it will overheat. Compressor here, here's your oil fill. That's where you're going to fill, and there's going to be some screws in tight here that hold this top, but we'll make sure that they're in tight before she leaves, but I left them loose so I can get it off. In theory, get it off. With those out, you can open up the hood. And get a better shot at refilling your oil here. Just a quick walkthrough on the compressor. So there's your oil fill. Here's your oil level. We'll draw a line on it so it's easier, but basically the top of this lower crankcase is the line you want. As the oil heats, it will creep up a little bit, so you want to keep it about mid-range. On the compressor there, we'll throw in a liter of oil or 2 liters of oil, so you've got some top up as well. This is your automatic condensate drain. It's going to dump the condensate collected in this tube, and this vessel every 15 minutes, and when the machine shuts off. So when it shuts off, you're hearing a kind of a leak, basically it'll sound like, and all that is that condensation is being dumped into that white box down underneath there. You can see the holes and that. What else? Oil filter. When you do your annual oil change, you want to change the oil filter that's in here as well. We've got it labeled for the type of oil we're using. It's a synthetic oil here that you want to replace. Intake filter is here. Manual has the details on how often you should change that filter. And at the back here, this is going to be your fresh air in from that 4-inch line we spoke about. So we'll ship it with 6 or 8 feet of flexible hose that you can make the connection in the fire hall. Far side here, this is your CO monitor, your iTrans CO monitor. There will be a manual included with this, and I'll also link you the YouTube video on how to set it. There'll be a briefcase that comes with the machine that includes the instructions and the kit to get it set up. That's the separator we've talked about. That's going to condensate. It has a filter inside. Your large purifier tower has a drying cartridge in it, and your medium filter here, which has a purifying cartridge in it. All these fittings and gauges and all that all relate to the CO monitor. That's feeding air right out of the purification system back up into your CO monitor. CO monitor will shut the machine off and sound an alarm if the CO level reaches over 6 parts per million. The light will start flashing at 4, but at 6, which makes you over the allowable limit, she'll shut the machine off. Your connection out right here. So that's where you're going to connect that little hose I'm going to send you into your tubing and run your lines out to the fill station. This little knob here is your system drain. It's going to drain all the air that's trapped in the purifiers. So when you want to change filter cartridges, you're going to need to change this. I'll attach a separate video that shows all the how to change a cartridge. Very standard. You're going to drain the air out of there. Once all the air is drained out, you'll put a wrench in between these two heads and spin it out. Pull the old cartridge out, put the new one in. Pretty simple. So I'm just draining the system air so I can show you how the sequencer works without having to fill everything all the way up. So I'll come back and we'll do the sequencer.